In the Roman army, falling asleep could get you beaten to death. Not by the enemy but by the men sleeping in the same tent as you. You have been standing at this post for 3 hours. The cold hits you before anything else. Not the cold of a chilly evening, but the cold of iron pressed directly against your skin for hours. Your legs stopped hurting an hour ago, which is worse, because now you cannot feel them at all. You marched all day in the rain. You only stopped once to build the camp with your own hands. And when the last stake was driven into the ground, your name was called for watch. What that actually felt like, nobody has ever shown you. Until now. The silence. To understand what a Roman soldier was actually protecting, you have to understand what he was standing on. When a Roman legion moved through hostile territory, they did not simply make camp and sleep. Every single evening, thousands of men built an entire fortified settlement from scratch. Ditches dug, walls raised, gates hung, streets laid in the exact same pattern, whether the legion was in the Syrian desert or the forests of northern Britain. The Jewish historian Josephus described their camps as cities that appeared in a single day. But what unsettled him more than the speed was the silence. When night fell over a Roman camp, it went completely quiet. No shouting, no drunken singing, just the soft creak of leather and an absolute stillness that he found deeply unnatural. That silence was not accidental. It was enforced. And now you stand in total darkness. No torch, no lantern, nothing. Why no fire? Because a flame on the wall is not warmth. It is a marker. It tells every pair of eyes in that black forest exactly where you are standing. An archer does not need to see you clearly. He just needs to see the light. So you stand in the dark, shivering inside an iron cage, listening to wolves somewhere beyond the tree-line, trying to determine whether that sound is a branch or a footstep, because that is how camps fall. Not in a blaze of assault, but in a whisper. The tessera. Before a single guard took his position, a small wooden tablet was already moving through the camp. The Romans called it the tessera. Each evening, the commanding officer chose a single word, can be Jupiter or victory. That word was inscribed onto the tablet, and passed it to the tesserarius, the designated keeper of the night's password in each unit. He received it in front of witnesses and passed it to the next man in the chain. Unit by unit, the password traveled the entire perimeter like a current through a circuit. Every handoff was witnessed. Every unit in the chain was documented. If the tablet did not complete its full circuit and return to the commander's tent by morning, the Romans knew exactly which unit had broken the chain. But the tessera was only the first layer. The 4 watches. The night was divided into 4 blocks. The first, prima vigilia, ran from sunset to 9 in the evening. The second, secunda vigilia, took the camp into midnight. The third, tertia vigilia, ran from midnight to 3 in the morning. The Romans considered this the most dangerous watch. Not because enemies preferred that hour, but because of what happens to the human body at its deepest point of sleep. Even a trained soldier starts to feel his eyelids as physical weights. The 4th watch, quarta vigilia, carried the soldier from 3 in the morning to sunrise. The coldest stretch, the most exhausting, the longest feeling hours of the entire night. Here's what those men did not know. Something was already moving through the dark behind them. The inspectors. Every night, 4 cavalrymen were selected for a task that had nothing to do with watching the forest. Their job was to watch the watchers. These inspectors, called the cursitors, walked the entire perimeter in the dark. Some carried small bells, a deliberate psychological tactic. The distant ringing somewhere behind you in the darkness, letting you know the inspection was coming but never telling you exactly when. Others walked in complete silence, giving no warning at all. When an inspector reached your post, you had one obligation. Be standing, alert, weapon in hand. You handed him a small token, physical proof the post was manned and the guard was awake. But what happened when he arrived and found the post abandoned to sleep? He did not shout. He did not grab the man. According to Polybius, who lived with Roman armies and recorded their systems firsthand, the inspector simply reached down, took the token, and walked away in complete silence. The sleeping soldier would wake sometime later, he would reach into his pouch, nothing there. And in that quiet moment of reaching into an empty pouch, he would understand something terrible: he had not gotten away with it. He had simply not been told yet. By morning, every token was counted before the tribunes. What followed was the detail that separated the Roman military from every other force in the ancient world. Fustuarium. The soldier is brought forward at dawn. No lengthy defense, no witnesses called in his favor. The inspector testifies, the evidence is the missing token. The tribune steps forward and lightly touches the condemned man with a wooden club. That touch is not the punishment, it is the signal. Polybius describes it clearly. Once the tribune gives the signal, the soldiers fall upon the condemned man with clubs and stones. The man's own tent mates carry out the sentence. The 7 men he shared food together with, marched beside, whose names he knew, whose families he had heard about, they are the ones holding the clubs. Was this discipline or barbaric? Let me know in the comments. The Romans called it the Fustuarium. Now stop and consider what the Romans actually understood here. Because this was not cruelty for its own sake. You do not fear an abstract punishment the way you fear the specific faces of the people who will carry it out. A distant judge is one thing. The man sleeping 3 feet from you every night is something else entirely. And there is something even more uncomfortable buried inside this system. The tent mates were not given a choice. You can't refuse or hesitate, because you risk sharing his fate. One man's failure pulled all 8 into consequence. Which means every soldier on that wall understood something with absolute clarity. His tent mates needed him awake. Not out of sentiment. Out of survival. Vigilus emphasized that discipline was so strict that a Roman soldier feared punishment from his own army as much as the enemy itself. And it had burned itself into their military memory so deeply that it shaped every watch, every inspection, every wooden tablet passed in the dark for centuries afterward. The lesson. Why build such an extreme system? Why not just use normal military courts to discipline failures? The answer lives in a single night. Around 390 BC, after the Roman defeat at the Battle of the Allia, a Gaulish army led by Brennus sacked the city of Rome itself. The surviving Romans retreated to the Capitoline Hill, a steep fortified stronghold they believed was impregnable. Guards were posted, the position was held. In the deep of the night, the Gauls found a hidden path up the cliff. They climbed in silence. The sentries, trusting the natural defenses of the hill, failed to detect their approach. The Gauls were nearly at the summit, when a flock of sacred geese, kept at the temple of Juno, erupted into panic. Their cries echoing through the darkness, the noise woke a Roman officer named Manlius Capitolinus, just in time to meet the first Gauls cresting the ridge. Roman soldiers told themselves that Rome had once been brought to the edge of disaster, through failed vigilance on guard duty. And that lesson in discipline became a lasting warning for soldiers on the frontier. If this story is hitting harder than you expected, the like button is right there. The last watch. You are still on the wall. It is Court of Vigilia now. The coldest hour, the darkest stretch. Somewhere behind you in the camp, the inspectors are moving. You grip your spear until the wood grain presses into your palm. You think of one thing only. The token in your pouch if it is still there. Then at the edge of the horizon, something changes. The black begins to separate, a pale line appears above the tree line. A horn sounds inside the camp. Low and steady. The watch is over. Now you exhale. Only then do you realize how long you held your breath. That word, vigil, the one we still use today, comes directly from those men. Vigilia. The Romans did not build the most enduring military machine because they were fearless, but because they understood that the most dangerous moment in any soldier's life is not the chaos of battle. It is the silence before dawn. When no enemy has come, when your body tells you nothing is wrong. And you have to choose to keep your eyes open. But here is the question that has been sitting quietly at the back of this entire story. While these men stood frozen on the wall, what about the thousands sleeping behind them? How did a Roman soldier sleep in enemy territory? If that question is already sitting in your mind, make sure you're subscribed. We're dropping that one next, and you don't want to walk into it late.